Yo, what's up? Welcome to Kind of Funny Games Daily for Friday, April 24th, 2020. I'm one of your hosts, Blessing Adeoye Jr., and joining me is host of PS I Love You XOXO, Greg Miller.
That's right. See, I represent. I'm wearing my PS I Love You XOXO t-shirt, unlike some people who sell out at the drop of a hat, Blessing.
Sell out? I'm just gaming better with Butterfinger. I don't know if people have seen this because it's not zoomed in all the way, but like I stopped by the studio yesterday.
Yeah,
because I needed to get out the house, and I wanted to hang out at the studio just so I can work on some stuff. And lo and behold, I came across a package from Butterfinger, and within it, I got this sweatshirt. I got all of these Butterfingers right here.
This is how you know you're an influencer now.
Better. Yeah, man, gaming better with Butterfinger. I got a Cloud Strife plushie.
I was gonna say you got your Cloud, you got your Sephiroth.
Yeah,
you get the backpack. The backpack's a nice backpack.
I got the backpack too.
They sent, if you didn't know, ladies and gentlemen, Butterfinger sent us like 19 of these packages. Gary would have got one of these packages.
Wait, did Gary really?
Not understand how cameras work, do you?
Well, it's like reverse. I had to figure that out.
Oh yeah.
I got a whole bunch of stuff, and so now I'm really represented. I'm getting better with Butterfinger.
Are you? Do you feel like your skills are improved?
Oh, 100%. Every time I eat a Butterfinger, I swear I get like 10 more kills in every game in Call of Duty.
Damn.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy.
You're just getting more and more kills.
I've not seen you rocking any of your Butterfinger gear. What's up with that?
I didn't know it was Butterfinger Day. Should I go get it?
I mean, if you want, I'm just trying to represent. Kevin, did you get your Butterfinger stuff?
Yeah.
I like how Portillo's always on his lap.
Yeah, I did.
Are you rocking it right now?
No, but I was trying to figure that out.
I mean, do you want to rock? If you want to get yours, I'll hold down the fort for the next like.
All right,
2 minutes.
I'll get mine.
Wait, actually don't leave because I actually can't rock. I can't hold down the fort. I can't be by myself here.
You just talk about your feelings. The kids love that shit.
Oh, the kids don't want to hear about my feelings.
Just tell them about your feelings.
Especially right now, because I don't know how I'm feeling right now. With all the stay-at-home stuff. It's been getting to me. It's been getting to me. Oh, thank God, Greg is back.
I can feel it. It's like I just took a mana potion. You know what I mean?
Oh, isn't this like the most comfortable sweatshirt though, like you've ever worn?
All right, I'll be right back.
It's a very cool sweatshirt. It's a very cool backpack, and Butterfinger is a very delicious candy bar that I can't wait to finish the stream and have another. I like to crumble them up and put them in my coffee.
Thank you again to Butterfinger at Butterfinger on Twitter. Hashtag game better with Butterfinger. Today's stories don't include Butterfinger.
And this is not a sponsorship. This is us just being morons, by the way.
Today's stories include Horizon Zero Dawn being a trilogy, 160,000 Nintendo accounts being hacked, and more, because this is Kind of Funny Games Daily each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. If you're watching live, you can correct us when we get stuff wrong by going to kindoffunny.com/you're wrong. If you don't want to watch live, you can watch later on youtube.com/kindoffunnygames or listen later on podcast services around the globe by searching for Kind of Funny Games Daily. To be a part of the show, head to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, where bronze members or above get to write in, and silver members or above get the show ad-free with the exclusive daily post show. And of course, remember, this Butterfinger thing and an ad is just us. And so you're going to get this Butterfinger stuff, Patreon or not.
Who would have thought if you sent us free clothes, toys, and food, we might eat it and talk about it.
Like, it's ridiculous because they even said ridiculous in a good way. I should say. Because
I stand by the fact this is a very nice bag. I forgot about this.
We got this this controller holder, this controller case.
I didn't get a case.
That says "Game Better with Butterfinger."
Oh,
you didn't get this, Kevin?
You missed out. It's got the little like climbing hook on it too, so you can put it on your backpack.
Yeah,
and like be ready to go.
So turns out
I got this long ass cable.
Yeah, it comes with a Butterfinger charging cable too. Yeah.
Why the hell did I get the shit bag with less things in it?
Listen, I don't know. Nick maybe went through it and gave you the bad one. I don't know. Maybe they understand you don't play as much as us. I had to go to
the FedEx. Greg, did I not tell you about this? There was a little postage on the door of the studio. There was like 4 of them stacked on there, where FedEx had kept trying to drop them off, something off, and it said Greg and Kevin, which I was like, that's weird. Usually it just says Kind of Funny or Greg or just Kevin.
Yeah.
So then I went and I had to go pick it up at the FedEx depot down in South San Francisco.
Of course, yeah.
And it was my package. It was to me.
It was their package.
But it had less stuff in it. And
it's been a weird thing. Did they send you the codes either?
Huh? They didn't send me the codes either. I don't want to make a big thing about it, but there was a piece of paper that was like, oh, hey, we wanted to send this to you as an influencer. It had been stepped on. There was a shoe print on it. It hurt, but the Butterfinger made it feel better.
I'll level with you, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first off, does Joey know I'll watch this show live? Do we know?
No.
Definitely not.
I can bet money that she's not watching this. She doesn't believe in it.
We're gonna
not at all. I mean, who here does believe in the show?
Well, first off, you and I do, right? I mean, come on.
Oh yeah, of course.
Nobody else. Kevin and Bless. Yeah. Great job, Joey. We love you. Oh, look, Kevin put his on too. Did we ever give away the DLC codes that came with this?
Yeah, they went out with the whatever stream.
Okay, cool. Just making sure. All right, great.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Joey. Bye. What a nice young lass she is. Too bad she didn't get a Butterfinger sweatshirt though, right, Kevin?
Yeah.
They only went to the top tier gamers. That kind of funny. Us, Gary. I don't know if Tim got one.
I think Andy got one because I saw the package.
Of course. I mean, Andy. You're talking about the best gamer.
I'm not even
talking about gaming better.
The like 5 Butterfingers that I got in there were so good. Is that 5? Like, I think I only got 5.
Really? I got like 8 on my desk right now, and I ate some before.
Did you seriously get more? So. You got more than 5? Don't lie to me.
Yeah, I got more than 5. I got way more than 5.
All right, I'm gonna hit up Butterfinger. Something's going on.
2.
Maybe they put you in the wrong category. Maybe you're like in the Snow Like Mike category and not the kind of funny category, you know?
Yeah, that's probably it.
There's way too many Butterfinger on my desk right now. Now it's time for some housekeeping. We're streaming Predator Hunting Grounds today. It's Kind of Funny versus Kind of Funny at 3 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. This is the first stream in our Ilphonic sponsorship, so look for details on how to play with us on next week's streams next week. Thank you to our Patreon producers, Muhammad, Al Tribesman, and Blackjack. Today we're brought to you by BROOKLINEN and ExpressVPN, but I'll tell you about that later. For now, let's begin with what is and forever will be the Roper Report. It's time for some news. We have 4 stories today.
Kevin, you put in the work to game better with Butterfinger, all right? That's your problem.
Why didn't I get a little case or the wire?
Here's the thing.
Why was my paper stepped on? Why was my paper stepped on?
Quo, Kevin. How's that Division 2 install coming?
It's done.
Oh, great. How about the Predator install?
Oh, man, it's going right now.
Yeah, but you missed the codes when I gave those away, didn't you?
You were late on the Division 2 alert codes, me, and when
Kevin, Mr. Coelho, I'd like you to answer my question.
You know what's funny? It didn't alert me. And when I go to the game codes thing, it wasn't like highlighted. So maybe you like somehow sent the message with notifications off to fuck me.
So not only are you not a pro gamer, you're saying you're bad at doing your day-to-day job and using Slack, which is the backbone of our business, Mr. Coelho. I'll remind you, you're on the record.
Greg Miller is making points right now.
Oh, we lost Greg. He's gone now.
Oh, wow.
He's gone on the call. So I guess it's just you, Bless.
Whoa. It's just me.
You say the word. We'll do the show right now together. Screw him. You know what I mean? Bam. There we are. You know what I mean?
Oh, man. Kevin, are you ready to talk about Horizon Zero Dawn, Kevin?
Oh, my dude. I'm so ready. Let's go.
Oh, man. How do you feel about a trilogy?
Of what now?
Of Horizon Zero Dawn.
This is the game on the moon, right?
All right. Get back to me. Kevin looks adorable in that sweatshirt because he looks like a child who's like Sunday night and he just got his bath and now he's like watching Lois and Clark with his parents before he goes to bed.
Are you describing you?
Greg Miller thing. This is just a Greg Miller thing.
Gotcha. Story number 1. Is Horizon Zero Dawn going to be a trilogy? I'm pulling this from Andy Robinson at Video Games Chronicle, who writes, multiple sources have told VGC that Sony Interactive Entertainment has greenlit ambitious plans for the post-apocalyptic open-world franchise, which debuted in 2017 with the 10 million selling Horizon Zero Dawn. Amsterdam-based Guerrilla had always had desires to deliver a series of Horizon games, and a multi-part script was written, but the plan was only officially agreed after the original game's strong debut on PS4. The title was both a commercial and critical success, with the team going on to win the 2018 BAFTA Game Award for original property. The next installment, Horizon Zero Dawn 2, started development soon after the first game's successful release, sources said. Initially, the game was planned for PS4. However, it's thought that development has now entirely shifted focus to Sony's next generation console. Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is said to be gigantic in scope, with a larger game world and more freedom to explore it than its predecessor. People with knowledge of the game also indicated the inclusion of a co-op feature, although it's not clear if this is delivered via the main story or a separate mode. At one point, Guerrilla was planning to release a standalone co-op game preview with progress carrying over to the later full version of Horizon Zero Dawn 2, one person involved told VGC. However, it's not clear if these plans are still in place. Co-op is a feature Guerrilla has long intended to introduce to the series, and it's understood PlayStation was equally keen to see online functionality implemented in the sequel. A co-op feature was initially planned for the first game, but was ultimately scrapped so the development team could focus on other areas of the title. Horizon Zero Dawn concept art leaked online in 2014, verified by VGC, even shows initial plans to have multiple players battle the game's huge mechanical beasts. Guerrilla's work on a sequel has recently been suggested by a series of job advertisements, which mention an open world game featuring quests and creatures. PlayStation has even made a possible reference to how the PS5's innovative controller could impact gameplay in Horizon. System architect Mark Cerny and CEO Jim Ryan have said the DualSense's adaptive triggers will help players feel the tension of their actions, quote, like when drawing a bow to shoot an arrow, end quote. A PC version of Horizon Zero Dawn and a Horizon comic book series set after the events of the first game will be released this summer, possibly linking to the sequel. Greg, does any of this surprise you?
A lot of it surprises me. I mean, not that, hey, they're making more, but the co-op stuff that they think that's going to be a big part of it. The fact that it wasn't always aimed to be a PlayStation 5 game, right? That they were talking about how they started it immediately after the last one and then had, started move in that. Since then, it's moved over to the PlayStation 5. It also, I don't know, it's all great news. It's all what I want to hear. You know what I mean? I don't know. The co-op stuff, I hope, co-op's always weird. I hope it's not, is it going to be a lame mode that's like, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you put co-op into this game and it's just some lame, it's very small, it's very limited, it's not cool, that sucks. If you make the entire game co-op, then inevitably either co-op or single player suffers, and then people are mad about that. I feel like I would have wanted to see them stick to a single player thing, but if it is more, because they talk about here being, it's this gigantic thing, right? There's so much more to do. It's even larger, or whatever, right? Gigantic in scope. If it's that way, right? Although it's not clear, if it's that way, if it's me bringing my Aloy to another person's game, if it's kind of like Peace Walker, where I went over other people's games and did stuff there, and I wasn't Big Boss when I was there, but I just looked like a grunt to them, but then they looked like a grunt to me, and it all made sense narratively. That could be cool.
Yeah, that's definitely a big thing for me, is for Horizon Zero Dawn, right? Like, I feel like for PlayStation first parties in general, the place where their big games kind of shine is being like big single player narrative adventures, right? You look at Uncharted, you look at Last of Us, you look at God of War, you look at Horizon, you look at Spider-Man, and the thing that all these games have in common, and I think the reason why people look at PlayStation first party as something special is because they are specializing in big single player games, and like they're making quality games, right? Like you look, I think you look at first party games from PlayStation compared to a lot of other single player games, and there's like a level of polish, there's a level of I guess focus, because you are releasing games on one console, and you're allowed to take advantage of the features that are specific to that console, because of that you're able to create and produce games that just work better, that function better, that are able to shine through, and thus you get a game like God of War, or you get a game like Last of Us that come out and they are these critical successes, right? Because all they really need to come out and do is come out and be excellent. And they have PlayStation's budget behind them. They have, having one console to develop for behind them, and all that stuff. That to me makes an idea of a co-op Horizon interesting, because that is then like diverging from that vision for PlayStation first party.
You talk about the vision for first party. I don't think it was a mandate by any stretch of the imagination, right? I think it was that these teams are allowed to pitch games. They're allowed to come up with their ideas. They're allowed to, figure out what they're passionate about, and then pitch that to PlayStation and see if PlayStation will bite on it, and if they're down to make that game. And I wouldn't be surprised that on the heels of Naughty Dog becoming Naughty Dog, right? You talk about Uncharted, and I'm not taking away from Jack and Daxter, right? Or anything old Naughty Dog did before. Yeah. But I'm taking away from that. Those games suck. But when you go and you become the Naughty Dog that starts putting out Uncharted 1, Uncharted 2, Last of Us, Uncharted, you know what I mean? Like, the list goes on here of these games that are bringing them to world renown, you know what I mean, in the video game industry. I think you start to have teams wonder if they could do that, and what that would look like, and how that would play out. And I think, especially for Guerrilla, right? having so much history with Killzone and so much baggage with Killzone, and people feeling like Killzone was a known quantity, for them to say, we really want to stretch our wings, and in the first party stable, what is PlayStation missing? And an exclusive open world RPG did not have. And so for them to go into that and double down on that was fascinating. And then you look at, Sucker Punch, I think riding the infamous train as far as they could, at least, coming out with PlayStation 4 and Second Son, not being a rousing success in terms of people being, loving it. I think they wanted to stretch their wings, and they start looking at Ghost and move on that way. I think now would be the point that people maybe also saw what Naughty was doing and want to do something like that, and now maybe they want to iterate on that. And even though I would say that Horizon Zero Dawn was an iteration already, right? It's easy to sit there and be like, oh, it's another single player game with a strong protagonist. Of course, that's a PlayStation game, but mechanically quite different from Uncharted than The Last of Us. And so I think that's what's interesting now is, like, personally looking through this and reading about it and hearing about it, you hear co-op, and I do bristle a bit because I've seen it done wrong before, but I have seen it done right. There are games that works for, and I think it's unfair to take the baggage I have with that and apply it to Guerrilla, especially with their IP. If they think that's the way to go with it, that's probably the way to go with it. They know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think for me, the idea of co-op actually excites me more than it doesn't, because I look at Horizon Zero Dawn and my experience with it. Like, one of the main things I had issues with while playing Horizon was the combat. Like, I had a love-hate relationship with the combat, because, like, part of it for me was I enjoyed the fact that it felt like I got to be agile, and I got to have a lot of choice in the way that I approached the different creatures in the world, right? And I have like a big skill set that I can access, right, between if I want to use my arrows or I forget what the weapon is called, but like the machine gun type weapon, or like the grenade launcher kind of thing, right? Like that level of freedom of choice with how you approach combat, I thought worked well, but I didn't necessarily love how the combat felt like I was applying chip damage a lot of the time, and it felt like I was trying to just like chip down enemies until wear them down. Like, that's not necessarily my favorite type of combat in single player, at least. In a co-op or multiplayer context, I think that works way better. And I could see how taking down large enemies together, right, with a friend, especially in Horizon Zero Dawn, like that to me can be a very fun experience if they nail it the right way.
Think about it with the polish of it and the polish of a Sony first party game, right, of a Worldwide Studios title. Then the limited scope of co-op, and maybe it's not, but I'm saying 2 players playing it, right? And say, what would it's not even what would an open world RPG look like from PlayStation first party. Now you're saying, what would Monster Hunter look like from a PlayStation first party? And Monster Hunter is a great time, right? But it can be cumbersome. And so if you were to strip away of a few of those things, make it Monster Hunter Lite, which of course Dauntless found a lot of success with at launch, right? That's the right one, right?
Yep, Dauntless, yeah.
It's one of those, that game came out when there was a bunch of other D games dropping, and I was like, I think Dauntless is the one I'm talking about. But you're able to give that polish and give it its scope, and obviously I think as close as Kojima and Guerrilla work together with the Decima engine, I bet that there could have been some really interesting conversations about how he did co-op with Peace Walker and how you would bring that over here, right? And I want to bring this up too, because in this story we were dissecting it now, but there's this paragraph here. At one point, Guerrilla was planning to release a standalone co-op game preview, with progress carrying over to the later full version of Zero Dawn 2. One person involved told VGC. However, it's not clear if those plans are in place. Blessing, that sounds a lot like Metal Gear Solid 5, Ground Zeroes 2. Phantom Pain.
Exactly.
That would be something incredibly interesting, right? Because I've been saying from the jump, right, that I think Horizon 2 is going to be a PlayStation 5 launch game. I think it'll be their big launch game. And, this article brings up the fact there's been, job listings for that, which of course I remember those happening. I remember reporting on them, and it kind of does bring into question, all right, well, how far along is this game then? Blah, blah, blah. What if they just did that? Horizon 2 isn't ready, but we have this co-op game that is like the prequel to it. Bridges for Horizon 1 and Horizon 2. We're putting that out as a launch thing for you to get a taste of what we're doing. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, like I think this story lends a lot of credence to your prediction that you've been predicting like over the last however long it's been, like 4 months, that Horizon Zero Dawn is going to be at launch on PS5, right? And you've been saying Horizon Zero Dawn 2, which I think still could be a possibility, but yeah, the idea that it is some sort of smaller prequel or more focused thing, or a spin-off title that is there at launch in order to set up what Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to be. Like, I think, I think that could also be a slam dunk. That could also be a viable thing and work really well, especially if you're planning to make Horizon Zero Dawn 2 different in this way, right? Like, you want to kind of usher people into that and get people used to the idea of, oh, wow, okay, Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to be co-op. And based off of the spin-off game we just played, that can work. Because I know, like, if they come out and announce like a co-op game for Horizon Zero Dawn 2, I think off first blush, that's gonna have some negative reaction. Given that people love to fight for single player games, people love to fight for the straightforward narrative, like the more linear. I guess Horizon Zero Dawn is not linear by definition because it's open world, but that type of single player experience, a spin-off title, could fix a lot of those issues and could convince a lot of people.
Exactly. If you're saying, as usual, like, this isn't we're still working on the game, this is the thing, or this is something to tide you over, this is something to celebrate the PlayStation 5 launch, this is something to, if you haven't played Horizon, get you into that world, that could work.
Yeah. Frankfurtter writes in to patreon.com/kindoffunnygames, just like you can, and says, "Good morning, Greg and Blessing.
Bonjour.
VGC News has been getting multiple reports about the new Horizon Zero Dawn game, and everything seems to be in line for a great sequel in this parent trilogy. However, there is one thing that has me worried. According to their source, this second game is going to be gigantic in scope and much bigger than the first game, while the world will be more open. Take this with a grain of salt, as I haven't played the first Horizon Zero Dawn since launch. Yes, I got the platinum, Greg, but the first game was the perfect size, if not a little too big. At what point does a world become too big and the devs have to reel it back in? Do you want a larger world, or are you afraid it'll be empty? Thanks for all you do, and have a great weekend, everyone. Frankfurter."
I remember, as Frankfurter points out, the Horizon world being the perfect size. And I think that that's not actually tied to the size of the map. That's tied to how well Guerrilla designed that game in quest structure and where you were running and how much backtracking you were doing, all that stuff. I don't think it's legitimate that, and I'm just throwing this out there, that 4 square miles is exactly the perfect amount of thing. And if you went to 5 or 6 or 8, that's too much. I think it's the way they used it, right? Because I remember, for me personally, and I know it's probably a tired story, but we haven't talked about Horizon that much lately. That when Horizon clicked for me was when I had been running around, upgrading all my shit, doing all my stuff, and as I normally do, ignoring the main quest to do all the side quests. And then I got a little bit, I went and did just whatever it was for the main quest. And I was like, fuck, that was really interesting. And then all of a sudden I was on the golden path because I wanted to see how that story went. And it was all of a sudden hard for me to then break away and go do the side stuff. And then afterwards coming back, and like, that game had such poetry in motion in terms of pushing you from one thing to the other, letting you do what you wanted to, letting you take on, the Thunderjaw or whatever, or go out and try to figure out what's going on with Aloy's backstory or what happened to the people that were before them. I would say, Frankfurter's main thing is, are you afraid it would be empty, a larger world? No, I wouldn't be, because I think that if Guerrilla made the move to say, hey, we're doing that, I trust them to fill out that world and use it the right way. And like, they're not saying we need a bigger world because we need more shit for people to do. They're saying we need a bigger world to facilitate the story and, narrative we're building.
Yeah. Like, when I look at the article, right, the exact phrasing they say is Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is going to be gigantic in scope with a larger game world and more freedom to explore than its predecessor. And when I think of the story of Horizon, not the literal narrative that's in the game, but the story around its release, right? It came out, and then a week later you had Breath of the Wild come out. And for a lot of people, that then made like a divide. Like, a lot of people kind of preferred one or the other. Because those games, even though those games are fairly different, they're also fairly similar, right? Like, they're single player open world games that are all about exploration and discovery and all these different things. And I think if I was Guerrilla, right, and I saw that release, and I saw a lot of people not necessarily drop off of Horizon Zero Dawn, but have that takeaway after those 2 games come out, I think I then look at Zelda and I'm like, okay, what are the lessons we can learn from Breath of the Wild? Just like I'm sure Breath of the Wild looks at Horizon and other games and tries to figure out what they can improve upon. And so, like, when I think of freedom to explore, right? That's the thing that I think Breath of the Wild kind of nailed. That's the thing that I think Breath of the Wild kind of did the best out of all the different elements that are in Breath of the Wild, right? Like, the feeling of being able to climb anywhere, the feeling of being able to kind of go in any direction and tackle objectives, whatever way you want. I think that's something that a lot of open world games, and one can learn from, but then also I think we've seen quite a few open world games already learn from, right? Like even non-open world games, like we just played Ori in the Will of the Wisp, and that game takes certain elements of Breath of the Wild in terms of being able to choose what objective you want to go tackle first, right? Like, you know, we've seen quite a few games take that influence and run with it, and I wouldn't be surprised if Horizon Zero Dawn 2 has, let's say, a bigger map with more scope, with more things to
varied
do,
landscapes,
more varied landscapes, and all these things. But also, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like less linear in terms of how you tackle completing the objectives, right? If there was a system where they were like, oh yeah, you have 4 different tribes that are scattered across the map or something like that, and you can tackle how you complete your objectives whatever way you want. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if that was the direction they took it. If they took that and then combined it with co-op in some way to make that feel like more of a seamless experience rather than a linear open world experience, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And again, I mean, and maybe I'm reading too much into how they're describing this and what they're talking about, but if it is more of those Kojima influences, right? If it was the mission structure, the open world structure of a Metal Gear Solid 5 Phantom Pain, right? Where it is these missions you can go replay, you're getting resources, you're doing whatever you need to do to build up your new community. I guess maybe that Aloy is a part of or building out, or maybe you're not even playing as Aloy. Maybe it is completely different on that front. There's a lot they could do with it and change. And that's always the funny thing about it, where I think we sit here all the time and, you know, like you're talking about all these games that have learned from Breath of the Wild and incorporated all that stuff. Horizon Zero Dawn has to do that. Like, it has to learn from every open world RPG that's come before it, and maybe Monster Hunter and whatever co-op experiences they want to bring in there too. Because how many times has it happened where we go back and play a game we loved and think's great, and you play it and you're like, oh, this is great, but man, it feels old. It feels stiff. It isn't doing this. There isn't this quality of life improvement. All games learn from each other and iterate and go. So like, if they were to just put out Horizon 2 and have it be the exact same thing as Horizon 1, it wouldn't hold up the same way.
Yeah, I think within the last 3 years, especially, there's been such a growth in open world games in a way that's actually kind of interesting, because I don't think you would have expected it. But you look at, you know, Breath of the Wild, and then you look at Red Dead Redemption 2, and even though I feel similar to you when it comes to Red Dead Redemption 2, that game didn't necessarily vibe with me personally, but there are tons of things that game does that I think, like, plenty of games can learn from, right? Sure. Like, in terms of how Red Dead Redemption 2 put its open world together, and in terms of how systemic it was. Like, I would love for a Horizon Zero Dawn game to come out, and for it to be more of a systemic game rather than more like, I'd want it to be narrative for sure. Yeah. I want to get the same level of story from as Horizon Zero Dawn 1, but I'd also love to see it be like, yeah, no, tackle things how you want. Yeah, no, like, I spent a ton of time, you know, because I recently played Horizon Zero Dawn. I talked about it in one of the first episodes of PS I Love You. And I spent a lot of time, like, just farming resources, right? Because that's a big part of that game. It's like Far Cry. You're going around, you're hunting, you're doing all that stuff, right? Like, I'd love for bigger and better systems to kind of build on top of that, and for them to really look at, like, okay, what is the gameplay flow? What's the word I'm looking for?
What, for how a game plays?
Like, yeah, the like the kind of the loop. Yes, the gameplay loop.
Gameplay loop.
Yeah. What is the loop of this game, right? How are we making what are players' experience coming into this game in a day, right? You go in, not that there's dailies or anything, but you look at your inventory, what you need, what you want to fetch, what you want to do all that stuff, and then you go in and you do it. Like, I would love for Horizon Zero Dawn to build something like that.
Yeah. If there was a reason to come back to Horizon Zero Dawn every day, right, or, you know, Horizon 2 every day, and again, if it was doing the Peace Walker idea, right, of you're going out grinding even long after the story's done, you're building a community, you're sharing resources. Yeah, I don't know. There's so much stuff you could do in there that I don't know necessarily excites me when I start pitching it, because I'm pulling from other games that I didn't care about, right? Of like, you're building up your clan, you know, or whatever, your tribe's, you know, defenses, and there can be some asynchronous attacking and shit like that. Like, I don't know, it's something that could happen, but it's you have to wonder how much they want to tinker with it, because it is, don't fix what isn't broken, right? Like, don't get in there and try to complicate it and make it totally not Horizon anymore. But I think you can have a Horizon feeling game that does have 2 players in it.
Story number 2, Greg. Nintendo confirms 160,000 Nintendo accounts have been accessed in hacking attempts. I'm pulling this from Tom Warren at The Verge, and this is something that we talked about.
Check mine right now.
Yeah, I would recommend if you have a Nintendo account, maybe check it to make sure that it's good. This is the thing we talked about a couple days ago. I think it was me and Imran, or it was either me and Imran or me and Tim, but this story was breaking earlier this week, and now, Nintendo has commented on it. The Verge writes, Nintendo is disabling the ability to log into a Nintendo account through a Nintendo Network ID or NNID after 160,000 accounts have been affected by hacking attempts. Nintendo says login IDs and passwords, quote, obtained illegally by some means other than our service, have been used since the beginning of April to gain access to the accounts. Nicknames, date of birth, country, and email addresses may have been accessed during the breach, and some accounts have experienced fraudulent purchases. Nintendo is now recommending that all users enable two-factor authentication. That's something you should be using for all your online accounts. Passwords are now being reset for affected accounts, and Nintendo is disabling the ability to log into a main Nintendo account through NNID. These older NNIDs were used for 3DS and Wii U devices. Nintendo's latest Switch console uses a newer Nintendo
use those at all. I don't worry about that.
Yeah, same. Nintendo's latest Switch consoles uses a newer Nintendo account system, which until today could be linked to these older accounts. Affected users will also be notified via email, and the company is warning that if you use the same password for an NNID and Nintendo account, then your balance and registered credit card / PayPal may be illegally used at My Nintendo Store or Nintendo eShop. Reports earlier this week suggested that some accounts had been breached and people had been using them to buy digital items like bundles of Fortnite V-Bucks. Nintendo is asking affected users to contact the company so it can investigate the purchase history and cancel purchases. Greg, this is a bad look. It's unfortunate.
Hey man, it's the world we live in. Everybody's hacking everybody. Everybody's trying to get in there all the time.
It's Watch Dogs 2 out here. Exactly.
People were just driving by doing their little things. Then you got Rami Ismail. You know what I mean?
Rami Ismail. What is he in Watch Dogs?
No. I'm making the reference to. I said Rami Ismail, of course, our friend from Flame Beer, but it's Rami Malek who's actually in that thing. That's what made me laugh. Kevin, thanks for no help on this. You were there on the show.
There are a lot of layers to that joke, and I thought I knew what you were referencing, but I didn't know how.
Sorry, what?
Rami Ismail.
We were making the screencast joke again with the hacking of the
Mr. Robot.
I don't know what you're talking.
I hate you, Kevin. Just go back to watching.
You know exactly what it is. It's when his face got red because he was laughing so hard on screencast.
One of the best gifts of me all the time. It doesn't matter.
We've never had you on screencast.
Kevin's not a fan. All right, he doesn't like kind of funny content,
right?
Make sure to check your Nintendo accounts to make sure
be on top of it. Right?
Be on top of that because 160,000 Nintendo accounts is a lot. Story number 3, WWE has confirmed that there's no WWE 2K21 coming this year. I'm pulling this from Matt Kim at IGN, who writes, WWE confirmed in today's first quarter earnings call that WWE 2K21 has been canceled. During a Q&A, WWE interim chief, every time I say WWE, it sounds weirder and weirder. The interim chief financial officer, Frank Riddick, revealed, quote, there's not going to be a launch of a game this year, end quote, when asked about a new WWE 2K title. The confirmation follows rumors that WWE 2K21 was canceled this year. There's been some turbulence with the WWE 2K series after WWE 2K20 was panned by critics for its poor performance, numerous glitches, and bugs. Developer Visual Concepts also took over the WWE 2K series after longtime Japanese developer Yuke's announced it would depart from the series to work on its own wrestling game. We'll learn the future of the WWE 2K series, as well as some unspecified WWE game news on Monday. The WWE games... I'm sorry,
it's in your head now, right? You can't get away from it.
Yeah, I can't get away from it. And the fact that I can hear my own voice in my headphones is making it even like amplify more.
WWE.
The WWE Games Twitter account announced the news, saying we learn more on April 27th at 7 a.m. Pacific. The post reads, quote, we'll be sharing details on the future of WWE 2K franchise, as well as some exciting news on Monday at 7 a.m. Pacific time. Rumors from earlier this month also pointed to the release of a non-sim WWE game of some kind. It remains to be seen whether that's what will be announced. Greg Miller, WWE fan number 1.
That's me.
For sure. The cancellation of 2K21 doesn't really surprise us, I don't think.
I mean, it doesn't surprise us because we you heard rumors of it already, right? And we saw the whole thing with Ukes, which was crazy enough that Ukes walked off, and what a bitter divorce that was when you read the comments Ukes made and all this different stuff. So no, right now it's not surprising. I mean, again, I think on paper it is fucking mind blowing that there won't be a WWE sim game out this year or next year. You know what I mean? Or no, this year, right? The fall. That's crazy when you think about it. And I've talked about it, a million times. So like wrestling games have been such a part of my, I don't even know, video game history, right? In terms of like them being the annual thing, not so much in recent years, the annual thing though, that as a fan, when I was on the outside, I was fucking skipping school and taking days off and like sitting home to play those games, right? And then of course, when I moved to IGN, Dunham gave me the reins on that. So I covered, I mean, not every, but a majority of the SmackDown versus Raws that I was there for my 8 years or whatever, in some respect doing it, and then into WWE 2Ks and everything else like that. Like, it's nuts to think that, yeah, there's not one happening, which then gets me excited for what this April 27th announcement is. Yeah.
And so what do you think it's going to be? And do you think that it is going to be a new game this year? Like whether it is like a WWE All-Stars type of game or some kind of spin-off like arcadey wrestling game? Like what's your take on it?
I do think it is. That's been the rumor, as Matt Kim points out. Rumors from earlier this month also pointed to the release of a non-sim WWE game of some kind. I think that's what this is going to be. This will be the announcement of it. I think this is trying to soften the blow of, hey, we had to say there's no 2K, but we are still WWE games. We want to make sure that there's something out there. I can only imagine what kind of financial toll, or when you do a contract like this, right? When you sign over, hey, we're going to do a licensing deal with you, WWE, we're going to make your games, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure in the agreement with WWE and 2K, WWE has it that you have to deliver a wrestling game every year, or we're owed this much money, or there's whatever kind of thing. So it's crazy to think that they're probably taking that they are eating something here because of WWE 2K falling apart, at least for 20, obviously, and performance wise. And so yeah, this one, I think that this has to be them announcing the game. Is it coming this year? I hope so. Which again then makes me think that hopefully it is something more akin to going back to what everybody wants, and that's a No Mercy, right, or a WrestleMania 2000 or WCW NWO Revenge. Obviously not from those teams, but something that quote unquote basic, where it is like strong grapple, weak grapple, strong strike, weak strike, taunt, finisher. Like that's what people want from these games. That's what people loved. And when you talk about the most beloved wrestling games, for the most part, those are the ones everybody brings up. Obviously there's Here Comes the Pain, Just Bring It stuff for SmackDown games. But I think especially in a year where you're not going to put out that banner one, it'd be cool to get back to something like that. And it's always complicated because I feel like when they say, oh, it's not going to be a sim game, right? That's when you get your WWE All-Stars or your Legends WrestleMania, and it is over the top. The bodies look like action figures. People are slamming 7 stories up and coming back down. Like, I don't want you to go that far. I don't want it to be arcade. I just want it to be basic. But I don't know. Yeah, it's happening on my birthday. Get that though? I don't think we'll be that lucky that on my birthday we get, hey, here's this great looking wrestling game.
Yeah, because if I had to guess on what this announcement might be, like my mind immediately goes to like probably like some kind of card game that like a free to play thing, or something that like they can scrap together quickly, like a WWE kart racer or something.
The phrasing of it's interesting, right? Where the WWE Games Twitter account said on April 27th, we'll be sharing details about the future of WWE 2K franchise, as well as some exciting news on Monday. So they've already shared the news that there's not a 2K game this year, which makes me then say that like it could be exciting in quotes, but honestly kind of boring. And it could be that on April 27th, it's like, we're proud to announce that WWE 2K 2022, right? Will be made by whatever developer it's going to be. Like it could just be
Naughty Dog.
Here comes this heartbreaking story. It could be that, and then they tack on it, as well as some exciting news. The exciting news could be that also we're working on this, arcadey wrestling thing that isn't sim based and is everybody you want and everything else. But imagine if they just came out and said somehow we did it and here's No Mercy. We've remastered Raw again. Oh my God, would I have a fucking freak out? Bless. I don't want to get my hopes up for anything, but whatever.
BJ Bernardo writes in and says, hi, y'all. Greg, I don't hear you get hyped for the WWE 2K games, so that's led me some questions. Have you lost interest in the WWE 2K series? What would bring you back? Or is the franchise too far gone and there are too many great games out there that it's hard to think about what would even bring you back? Do you no longer smell what The Rock is cooking? Is this rock bottom for 2K? Are you still just a sexy boy, not a boy toy? Thanks, BJ. Greg.
BJ, I'll always be a sexy boy.
Why are you stone cold, Greg?
damn, fuck, man. You got these things, you
right?
know what I mean? It's
yeah,
like
man.
your D-Generation X. I don't know. Yeah, no, I fell off WWE 2K. If you remember, like when I was reviewing them, obviously I was reviewing them, and then when I wasn't reviewing anymore, I would still play them. Then it became that I'd play them on like basically launch night. Then it would be that I'd like me and a friend, my friend Sean, would come over and we play, and it was like this whole thing of like slowly winding down. And the problem that ground me down on it was the same thing that grinds everybody down on them, I think, is like putting in the new game for that year and finding it to be just like last year. You know what I mean? Like it was always that, oh, we're bringing back story mode, or we're doing this. We used to do streams on Kind of Funny from the Spare Bedroom, right, on launch night, of where I'd make a wrestler and then try to go through it. And it was like, okay, this is moving slow and the RPG system isn't what I want. Okay, well, and it was just like, it is that thing too of it, the more complicated they've gotten, I feel the less fun they've gotten, because they are trying to be this sim thing and do these different things. Whereas when we were limited on the N64, and you would make a wrestler that was good enough, that was close enough, that was what you wanted it to be enough, and then go out and have a great time with it. Whereas this one, I'm the kind of person that gets in there and I'm like, fuck the faces, and I'm trying to use that stupid face capture thing where I'm sending in photos to the 2K website and I'm putting them through the thing. It's just like, oh god, like it's not even Uncanny Valley, right? Because it's like, no, this isn't good enough. It looks like it should be, but it's not good enough, and I'm not, all that kind of shit. But yeah, what would bring me back to the 2K series? Like, it'll be interesting who I want to see it blown up. I want to see them start new. I want to see them say, with this now, what, basically 2 years of development time, more like 18 months probably. But hey, we're not starting from scratch, I guess. Obviously, we're going to try to make it look like television. We want you to look at this thing and understand what you're doing. But to go in there and make the system more fluid, right? Because it was the other thing too, of like the way animations were going in the 2K series, where you're doing it, but it's already playing out, and it was just like, I don't know how to reinvent the wrestling game in a way that gets me excited, other than giving me the retro feel I want, but not going super, super retro, right? Even like when Fire Pro came out last year,
2 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, time's so weird.
I want to say 2018.
Okay, but when it came out and I was playing that, like I was super into it, remember? And I made all of Kind of Funny, and I was all about it. And then they put out a patch. I had it like a week or two before launch. They put out a patch for day one that locked all my shit, and I start over, and I never started over because I was like, oh, I put in like 4 really hard days of making Cool Greg and Us and all this stuff. And so like even that system has a complication to it, and it doesn't have the visual style I want from it. Like I just want them to suck it up and be like, we're making an N64 game modern, and we're gonna do that. And I know you can't, because of licensing and everything else and who the developers are and yada yada, go back and get No Mercy and actually do an HD No Mercy, but that's what I want. And so just building in that thing would be cool. If whatever the next 2K series game is, if it is that, hey, we've really learned from our mistakes, it is totally different, we're giving you a better story mode, a better create mode, or general manager mode, like I'd pop in and look at it again. But still, I think as somebody who doesn't watch product all that often, like I'll still pop over obviously for pay-per-views, and I'll see when Austin's in town, we'll go see Xavier do stuff. Like that'd be cool. But like sometimes when you're in the nitty-gritty of it and I don't know who these people are, it's hard to get excited for it. Long-winded answer to say I really don't know, but I want to see something from the ground up.
Fire Pro Wrestling came out in 2017.
Holy shit. 3 fucking years ago?
Yeah, which makes time really feel like a flat circle.
Jeez Louise, that feels like it wasn't that long ago.
Because it was Fire Pro Wrestling World, right? That was the one. Yeah.
But now, are we? It was a staggered release, where it was on PC first, and then it came to PlayStation 4.
You're right. It came out Steam Early Access in 2017 in July, and then in August 2018 it came to PS4.
Gotcha.
So you're right, actually. That makes sense.
Perfect.
Story number 4. Final Fantasy XIV is finally streamlining A Realm Reborn. I'm pulling this from Jade King at Trusted Reviews, who writes, Square Enix has announced that major changes will be coming to Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn in a future patch, finally streamlining early parts of the MMORPG. The big changes were announced and detailed in today's live letter featuring the game's developers, who have been teasing A Realm Reborn revamp for a number of months now. Large portions of A Realm Reborn have grown infamous due to their sluggish pacing and lack of engaging content, largely due to its initial development schedule lacking time and resources. Now, Square Enix aims to change it for the better. Changes will be implemented from patches 2.0 through to 2.5, eliminating parts of the quest lines seen as tedious while providing players a more engaging variety of quests at a more frequent pace. Game director Naoki Yoshida expanded on this in an interview with Trusted Reviews back in 2019. Quote, Between patches 2.1 and 2.3, there are so many side quests required for MSQ, which is the main quest, that it makes players exhausted. Even if you cleared it, it's still a long way to 2.5, so people might be discouraged and end up lapsing out, end quote. This is good news. A couple years ago, I tried playing Final Fantasy 14. I think I mentioned that quite a few times on shows. Yeah. And I definitely fell off in the early areas of the game because it did kind of feel sluggish in the ways that I've seen described in the article and described online. And so to see that they're streamlining it, looks good, sounds good. I saw quite a few people that I follow, like Michael Hyam from GameSpot loves Final Fantasy 14. I saw him being like, okay, now you guys have no excuse not to play this game. And so good for them.
Yeah, no, totally. I mean, you want to talk about a success story, like Final Fantasy 14, A Realm Reborn, right? And how I remember when I wasn't following it when it came out and did what it did, nobody cared about it. And then they were like, basically, we're going to remake the game and put it back out. IGN had some sponsorship with them where Destin and I went over there and spent a day playing and making videos or whatever. And it was that thing of like, oh my God, like this is cool. This is great. I am enjoying what I'm playing here, right? And I a million other things to play, never went back to it. It's just not a world I'm super into. But the fact they were able to do that, the fact that it's still in the news, not even right now because they're like doing a mea culpa, it's in the news positively in updates and people still playing it. People in this industry still digging it and wanting to be a part of it. That's crazy. So if they're making it easier to get into, that's awesome.
Greg, I'm so excited to see what the future of Final Fantasy 14 is. But that future is so far away. If I want to know what's coming out to Mom and Grop shops today, where would I look?
You'd go to the official list of upcoming software across each and every platform, as listed by the Kinda Funny Games Daily show hosts each and every weekday. Yeah. We're all gaming better with Butterfinger.
When I got all these Butterfingers in front of me.
Oh my God, how can you focus? You know what I mean?
I know, right? They're just calling my name.
I can't believe they send you more Butterfingers than they sent me.
I mean, did you like how much? Like, did you talk about Final Fantasy 7 on Twitter? Did you like?
I mean, they also didn't send me Final Fantasy 7.
Wait, did they not?
No.
What did they just did it not sign your paper that it's in your email?
Yeah, I did get one of those papers. That was the paper that was stepped on, and in
that paper it says that you should have been emailed.
Well, yeah, but like you can say something and then not do it, like send out the email. That's.
Hashtag game better with Butterfinger. Out today, we got Trials of Mana for PS4, Switch, and PC. Predator Hunting Grounds for PS4 and PC. Oh man, this is an interesting one. Archaica, The Path of Light for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Quest Hunter for Xbox One. Doug Hates His Job for Xbox One. Deliver Us to the Moon for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Quern, Undying Thoughts for Xbox One, War Theater for Xbox One, Sunless Sea Submariner Edition for Xbox One. Did you not read that one yesterday? I feel like
I read it yesterday. Yeah, no, I read it yesterday. Maybe
it came out twice. Spuds Unearthed for PS4, Naruto Shippuden, Ultimate Ninja Storm 4, Road to Boruto for Switch, Debtor for Switch. That's like Debtor for Switch. Guard Duty for Switch, Geo Rifters for Xbox One, Nira for PC, Mushroom Cats 2 for PC, and One True Cuddle is out today for PC. We have no new dates for you, but we do have a couple deals of the day. This comes from Bandai Namco on Twitter. They tweeted today, we're asking fans to do their part and have hashtag more fun for everyone at home. To lend a hand, we're sending our Goodwill ambassador, Pac-Man, into every house by making Pac-Man Championship Edition 2 free from April 24th to May 10th. So jump on that. I just claimed it on both Xbox One and PS4. So
covering your bases.
Oh yeah, I'm covering the bases. Well, I claimed it on Xbox One because it wasn't up for PS4 yet, and so I was like, just so I don't forget to have it on something. And then later on, I figured out that if you just put the PS4 version in your cart, that should make it free, even though it says $12.99 on the homepage. And so go check that out, claim it, play it. Great game. And then Total War Shogun 2 will be free to keep on Steam from Monday, April 27th until Friday, May 1st. Now it's time for Reader Mail. You can write into patreon.com/kindafunnygames where you can get the show ad-free. And speaking of ads, this episode of Kinda Funny Games Daily is brought to you by BROOKLINEN. Bringing comfort into your home is the ultimate form of self-care. Now, more than ever, it's important to take care of yourself and each other. You spend 1/3 of your life in sheets. Don't you want them to be insanely comfortable? So put comfort first, like with new bedding, loungewear, towels, and more. Home of the internet's favorite sheets, Brooklinen's got over 50,000 plus 5-star reviews and counting. And starting April 25th, Brooklinen is having their biggest sale yet, the birthday sale. Get everything from bedding to towels to loungewear and more at savings you wouldn't believe. Brooklinen products help you find the comfort in the little things, morning routines, extra soft sheets, plush towels, etc. Folks here are kind of funny use Brooklinen sheets and can confirm they're insanely comfortable. Isn't that right, Greg?
I love my Brooklinen sheets. Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Everybody knows that.
Like softness, comfort, essentials to help you relax, Brooklinen has it all. Brooklinen.com is the perfect place to find all the comforts for your home, and they're so confident in the product that all their sheets, comforters, loungewears, and towels come with a lifetime warranty. The birthday sale kicks off April 25th, and you don't want to miss it. Get their biggest savings of the year on sheets, bedding, towels, loungewear, and their newest hem and linen collections. And if you can't wait, you can get 10% off your first order and free shipping on all the new sheet right now when you use promo code GAMES only on brooklinen.com. That's BROOKLINEN.com. We're also brought to you by ExpressVPN. We all know how ExpressVPN protects your privacy and security online, but here's something you might not know. You can also use ExpressVPN to unlock movies and shows that are only available in other countries. Now that so many of us are stuck at home, it's only a matter of time until you run out of stuff to watch on Netflix. Let me tell you guys, I just finished Ozark Season 3. I've finally caught up, and let me tell you, man, that was an amazing season of television. But it's over now for me, and I have nothing to watch. Maybe ExpressVPN can help. What if I could spend the whole week binging Doctor Who on UK Netflix? Well, it's so simple and easy to do. Just fire up the ExpressVPN app, change your location to the UK, refresh Netflix, and that's it. ExpressVPN hides your IP address and lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. You can choose from almost 100 different countries, so just think about all the Netflix libraries you can have access to. Love anime? Use ExpressVPN to access Japanese Netflix and be spirited away. But it's not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service. That's Hulu, BBC, iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. There are hundreds of VPNs out there, but the reason we suggest ExpressVPN to watch shows is it's ridiculously fast. There's never any buffering or lag, and you can stream in HD no problem. ExpressVPN is also compatible with all your devices, phones, media, consoles, smart TVs, and more. So you can watch what you want on a personal device or on the big screen wherever you are. If you visit this special link right now at expressvpn.com/games, you can access 3 months, or you can get an extra 3 months of ExpressVPN for free. Support the show, watch what you want, and protect yourself with ExpressVPN at expressvpn.com/games. Greg.
Blessing. You look great in this sweatshirt, by the way.
Thank you. So do you. I think we're both killing it in this sweatshirt.
The problem is, since we're both wearing it and we're going to game better with Butterfinger this afternoon on this Predator stream, is it an unfair advantage? Like, Nick won't have it, so clearly we're going to destroy him. Tim doesn't even know how to play a video game. Andy, I worry about.
I'm sure Tim and Andy got the packages though. Like, it's
on
them.
Are they smart enough to wear it? Do they understand the power inside of this?
To me, that's not unfair. To me, that's just us playing the game. This is us getting better with Butterfinger. Hashtag game better with Butterfinger. At Butterfinger on Twitter. Thank you guys for all the stuff. The Nano Biologist writes in to patreon.com/kindafunnygames, just like you can. It says, "Hi, Blessing Greg. After listening to this week's Gamecast, I was thinking, can we start to redefine what Game of the Year means when it comes to awards? Before, it's always felt like the most graphically impressive, well-written story, pushing the medium forward, etc. Win. But should that still be the case? What about having the most cultural impact on the year? We've all determined that this year will basically be written off because of all the shit happening. But one game has really united so many people, Animal Crossing. I haven't played it, but I can absolutely recognize its cultural impact on being the new medium for us all to socialize while we're stuck indoors. When the year is done with, and we are hopefully beginning to ramp up back to normalcy, do you think that cultural impact will be enough to win games like Animal Crossing Game of the Year, even if it doesn't do what we previously identified as being reasons to vote a game as Game of the Year? Thanks, the Nano Biologist.
Well, I think, Game of the Year in general is a question that comes down to personalities, your personality, and then if you're voting in it, your outlet and how you guys define it. I don't necessarily agree with Nano that before it always seems like it's the most graphically impressive, well-written story, pushing the medium forward, etc. Like, well, I guess I do agree with that, but I also don't think that Animal Crossing is disqualified from that. And I think that he puts this etc. there. I think cultural impact would be a part of it. But I do think that I don't think you have to do something groundbreaking. I guess I do. It's the wording of I guess it's the wording of it, and then it's paired with thinking Animal Crossing doesn't do that.
Yeah, because I think a problem that I think I've had with Game of the Year over the years is that I think there's this perception that it has to be games that are big, narrative, graphically intense single player games.
Sure.
Right? Like you look at games like God of War or The Last of Us or Uncharted 4 or like Red Dead Redemption 2. Like I think there's a certain profile that we give to Game of the Year winning games. Jen is in the background. Is that Jen or Lucy?
That's
one of them's in the background.
Very bored apparently today. She walked in and went, "Hello." She usually doesn't want to be on camera, and she's just yelling and dancing in the background.
But I think there's a certain profile that we give to Game of the Year games that I don't necessarily think has to be the case, right? Like Animal Crossing, in terms of like if we're talking about graphics, right? Like in terms of art style and look, right? Like Animal Crossing, I think has a fantastic look. Like it nails its art style, right? Yeah. Like especially on the like just when you look at the Switch upgrade compared to the 3DS game, right? Like that game looks pretty. That game looks beautiful. If you want to talk about writing, right? Like writing differs from game to game. What's great writing for God of War is going to be different for what's great writing for Animal Crossing. And I haven't played enough Animal Crossing to know like if the writing is fantastic. But you know, like I think you kind of have to look from game to game and figure out what games are doing to exceed in what they're trying to be.
I agree with this cultural impact thing though that he's talking about here, and like how it's. But I think that was already part of it, and I think it's one of the reasons you ran into the biggest conversations about. Well, can a game that got released and not this year be Game of the Year, right? And that was mainly, I think, for most of those conversations around Minecraft or Fortnite, something that had this lasting power and also in Fortnite's case changes dramatically and is only getting bigger. Like having to weigh that and decide, is that still eligible for Game of the Year? Or is it not? Made people start to get a little bit looser about what it was, because I remember how rigid the rules were at IGN, and even we've been lucky enough to be a voting outlet for the Game Awards since we went independent in 2015, and even seeing those rules lessen a bit to where it is just like it's the game people are playing. It doesn't need to have come out this year. Like it has to be eligible to be released, but that includes, and like seeing people toy around with ongoing categories versus overall categories. I do think that Animal Crossing has a shot at it and has a good shot. To Nano's question, it's funny. I like doing these things where these thought exercises, and I don't know if they make for great podcasts where I come in and I start to disagree with the question. I'm like, well, I guess I'm agreeing with it in the long run, and then going around having these thought exercises. But it is that thing that Animal Crossing for some will be overlooked. And I talked about this on Gamescast briefly. I think it'll be overlooked for some because of the fact it is more Animal Crossing. That's always the hard thing with the sequel, right? But when you're talking about cultural impact, I don't think that can be overlooked. And I also don't think that even if you're going to sit there and say, yeah, it's just more Animal Crossing, you can overlook the way they're updating and the way they're keeping it current in a very non-Nintendo way, right? Of having these big drops, consistent drops, the Easter Bunny event, then now into Earth Day, then into wedding season, then into, like, there's so much stuff happening in there right now that is not how they normally do it. And to see how they do that throughout the rest of the year will be fascinating. And to see then, not to, I guess, promote our shit or toot our own horn or anything, but like to see what we did last night on Twitch for the Animal Crossing Grimecraft stream, right? Where it was Grimecraft doing a concert in Animal Crossing on our channel for Kind of Funny Best Friends. Like that was, I've played games a long time, and I've, been an internet personality a while too. And that was something incredibly unique and special last night to be in there, interviewing Grimy at times, then just dancing in there, to be chatting with the chat about shooting the shit about what's going on, to have this organic thing of like, we made our own concert merch, but then somebody showed up and made bootleg concert merch, but then we all wanted that merch. So he went and posted it in the Able Sister store. So we all ran over there and got it. It was like this organic thing again. And like to Nano's point of this cultural impact of how I think so many of us are having a great time with that game because we can't go out there and see our real friends in the normal way. To go in there and dance with Joey, to go in there and have these experiences with the shirt, to go in there and shoot the shit with Grimy and everybody else, like that game is something special, and it is more than the usual Animal Crossing.
Yeah, I'm of a few minds with it, because I think for me, when we're talking about Game of the Year is such a malleable thing, and it differs from outlet to outlet what it's really going to come down to. I think the fear for me I think part of why we should include cultural impact is because of cases like that, right? You look at Animal Crossing and you're like, you can't overlook this, right? You look at Fortnite and you're like, you can't overlook this. At the same time, like, I think my fear is, do we get to a point where then Game of the Year turns into a popularity contest? You know, like when I think of my favorite games of the last few years, right? I think of games like Nier Automata or Hitman 2 or Undertale or Hellblade, and these are games that aren't the most popular games, right? These games aren't performing at least like commercially at the same level as Fortnite or Animal Crossing and all these other games. But is that a reason for them not to be looked at like with the same lens because they're not performing, because they're doing something that's more
issue, though. Like that's my thing is, for me it always comes down to, you know, I always say like the classic argument was where at the very end at an IGN argument I voted for Journey after having pushed so hard for The Walking Dead to get on the ballot, and it was between The Walking Dead season 1 and Journey, and I was like, for me, Game of the Year is this is the best our industry can do, right? And to look at The Walking Dead and how it ran and how it was eating people's saves and how it would chug or crash here, I was like, I can't say that about this game. Journey is a better overall package, right? And I do feel like that could still happen. I think the reason, you know, Nier didn't win more Game of the Year awards in the year it was out there was just the fact that Nier was clunky in spots. Nier wasn't like, this is going to be different for every person, but I don't think it was the best package put together. And I think that the best package can be a 45-minute iPhone game, and it can be a 45-hour RPG, and you can find those on different years. And I think that Animal Crossing has the meat on the bones to be the best package of the year, to be the best we could do in video games this year. And it would be a very different best than usual.
I personally still push for the idea of separating a Game of the Year award and then like having a secondary category be either like best game, or maybe we just make that best direction or whatever it may be, to uplift the games that we do look at as like the best packages, right? Like, because I like the conversation of what is the game that means the most to this year. Because right now, I think if we do Game of the Year awards, I think Animal Crossing is probably going to win most of them. It's going to be split between Animal Crossing and Final Fantasy VII, basically, if Game of the Year happened right now. And I think there's an argument for both, right? And I think the arguments are different, but I could understand why people would go for both. If we're talking about Game of the Year, if we looked at it as more of a person of the year, kind of like Time Magazine or People of the Year, or whatever they called it, right? Like, I think that conversation is as interesting as what is the game that performed the best this year? What is the game that is doing the most with how it's pushing forward the medium, doing the most with how it's pushing forward technology or social messaging or whatever it may be? I think those two separate categories can coexist and can be interesting together in a way where, like, Untitled Goose Game, after playing it at this point, I'm like, I would not say this game is the best game of last year by any means, but I can understand why you would say that this could be the game of the year.
It had the best year.
Yeah, like in terms of like the conversation.
He owned the conversation and memes and Halloween costumes.
Yeah. And so I think there's room for Game of the Year to evolve and what that looks like to evolve. And I kind of want to see it evolve and see it change a bit, because, you know, I think all the conversations that are happening around it are valid from all the things I heard. So there you go.
You're in charge of planning your Game of the Year this year, then.
Sweet, dude. I'm totally down.
Good.
But like, if I'm doing it, I might put my foot in it, because like I like to listen. I put my foot in it in terms of like might go all the way. Because like I listen to like a lot of the Giant Bomb podcast Game of the Year. I wouldn't want to do that because they're
you want to podcast for a week for 8 hours a day?
8 hours at a time. No, I don't want to do that. But I would love for us to like sit down and figure out like what, like, do we want to do categories? Like, what does kind of funny Game of the Year look like? Now that we have like us and Imran and Fran and Andy.
Yeah.
You know,
Andy Pisty didn't come last year, so yeah, we have to bring him this year.
Yeah. I don't know about Andy.
Wearing his blue sweatshirt right now. I don't know.
Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to squad up. Of course, this is where you write in. Let us know what you want to play, or not who you want to play with, but let us know what you want to play so you can get people to play with. Mathijs writes in with a squad up on Xbox One and says, "Dear Blessing and Greg, I hope you're both having a great day. My name is Mathijs from Netherlands, and I recently relocated to Asia. Because of the time difference, I am no longer able to play Trials of Osiris in Destiny 2 with my regular squad. So I am looking for 2 people who preferably also live in Asia that want to play Trials of Osiris as a regular team on a regular basis. I take it quite serious sometimes and always aim to go flawless, so know what you're getting yourself into. Send me a message on Xbox if you're interested. My gamer tag is MA7HIJS. Kind regards, Mathijs." I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I had to look it up. And
I had to look it up.
Yeah, I did have to look it up. It said Mathijs, and so there you go. Now it's time for kindafunny.com/you're wrong, where you can let us know what we get wrong as we get it wrong. Timmy Buddy wrote in and said, Speaking on a game like No Mercy, it has been heavily teased by Kenny Omega that he has talked to AKI, who developed No Mercy, for the All Elite Wrestling game they're trying to get started. So that's some more context on what's going on in the world of wrestling.
I mean, if that I would fucking die. I would fucking die if AEW was like, all right, cool, we got it. We got AKI and they're making our game and it just looks like a souped up No Mercy. I would fucking die.
Let's see. About says this ARR story is old. That was first announced on August 8th, 2019. What are you talking about? ARR? What's that?
A Realm Reborn.
Oh, Realm Reborn. Well, there you go. And then Kebab says it's Times Man of the Year. I thought they had like a Person of the Year. Or do they do Man of the Year and Woman of the Year?
I thought they did Person of the Year.
I thought they did Person of the Year also, or People of the Year. Because wasn't it like, I thought like one of the previous years, it was like a group of
Trump
people.
was Person of the Year. So Kebabs, break it off and fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Kebabs.
Yeah, here. Person of the Year, called Man of the Year or Woman of the Year until 1999. Well, Kebabs, welcome to the 21st century.
Yeah, welcome to the 21st century. We're progressive.
We're all people.
Everybody.
All right? And our sex and gender doesn't define us anymore. You sicken me.
Tell him, Greg. The hosts for next week go like this. On Monday, it's me and Tim. Tuesday, it's me and Imran. Wednesday, it's Greg and Gary. Thursday, it's Greg and me. And then Friday, it's me and Timothy De La Geddes, which is this new nickname now.
Wow.
I don't know how I came up with that on the spot, but there you go.
De La Soul's a great band, so there you go.
Yeah. Well, there was a Fresh Prince episode where he called himself something De La Ghetto. And then there's also a YouTuber named Timothy De La Ghetto. But he then recently changed his name to his actual name, which is like Tim Rangaratsu or something like that. And so Tim is now Timothy De La Geddes. Remember, we're streaming Predator Hunting Grounds today. It's Kind of Funny versus Kind of Funny at 3 p.m. Pacific time on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. And of course, this has been Kind of Funny Games Daily each and every weekday at 10 a.m. live right here on twitch.tv/kindoffunnygames. We run you through the nerdy news you need to know about. We have a Patreon post show for those that are subbed at the silver level of patreon.com/kindoffunnygames. So stick around for that. Otherwise, until next time, Game Daily.